Hi, my name's Geoff. We're at Calgary Cycle, and I'm going to do some work on this Trek Marlin today. First, we're going to start with how to change a flat. Alright, so to change a flat, we've got some of the air already out from the puncture. Going to continue to make sure as much air is out as possible to make the tire as easy to pull off as you can. Okay, so go around the tire, try to break the tire bead from the rim, also to make it easy to take off. Everything you do, try to do opposite the valve stem to make it a little easier, because generally tends to be a little tighter around here. So 2 tire levers is generally all you'll need. Get one in just underneath the tire, second one in just a couple inches over. If you flip the one down, you'll notice the tire lever will have a little hook on it, so you can hook it to a spoke, holds it in place while you flip the other one down. Once that happens, you should have enough room, grab it firmly and just pull along the tire and work your way nicely all the way around. Get your tire bead off the one side, pull your tire levers aside, and just grab firmly, again opposite the tire valve, pull down, and it'll pull off. So first thing we're going to do is check our rim, make sure there's nothing wrong with it. Always find a good starting point. Starting point, easiest thing is your valve stem hole, and just run your finger along, or if you're worried about cutting your fingers, grab a light rag and just run it through just to see if there's anything sharp in the rim itself. Okay, doesn't feel like there's anything in the rim. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the tire again, starting at the valve stem. We're gonna pull it out. Holding the valve stem where you pulled it out of the tire. This also, when you start to inflate it, if you do have a flat, if you do have a puncture that is noticeable, you have an idea of where on the tire to look. So we're just going to pump this up a little bit. And basically what you're going to do is, while holding it to the tire, just circle and look and listen and feel for. You'll usually feel a light breeze coming off the tube itself, and just rotate it around until you find a puncture. And then once you do, all you do, take this, you've got a puncture say over here, pull the tube aside because that's no longer usable, obviously. And then what you want to do is feel around the tire. So first thing you do is, once you find the hole in the tube, take a look around that section of the tire first to see if there's anything obvious. If there isn't, 9 times out of 10, whatever punctures the tire leaves the tire, it doesn't stay in. Once you're done, pick a spot on the tire itself, rotate through with your hands, and just feel around to see if there's anything that's stuck in the tire itself. Again, if you're worried about cutting your fingers, what a lot of people do will use a rag and run it through until it gets caught on something. So there's nothing stuck in this tire. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab a new tube. If you're out on the trail, it is good to keep a spare tube with you, or at the very least keep a patch kit. They come pre-glued, so it makes it nice and easy and quick. And keep in mind, patches are more of a temporary fix when you get home or to your local bike shop, hopefully Calgary Cycle. Grab a new tube. Patches are only temporary. So what we're going to do, we're going to lightly fill this tube just enough to round it out. And what we're going to do, we're going to set this inside the tire, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for a logo, and I'm trying to set it dead center, the valve stem that is, dead center of the logo. So this way you always know where it is. Aesthetically, it is kind of pleasing, but it gives you a good reference point. So, like everything, start with the valve stem, wiggle the one side in, and then what you're going to do is you're going to set just one side of the bead onto the rim. Now the tube rather, is sitting just above the rim, so what you want to do is sort of rotate that down to get the second bead just up against the rim. Now the reason you want the tube inflated is so as you're putting it on, you're not pinching the tube. At this point you should be able to do everything by hand. If you use a tire lever to put your tire on, what generally happens is the little hook on the end that's designed to catch the rim actually pinches the tube, and you got to start right back at square one. So we'll start back at the valve stem, get the tire bead on. Most of the work is very easily done with your fingers, and sometimes what I like to do, wiggle the valve stem up so your tire bead sits nicely inside. Then all you're going to do is continue working to the opposite of the valve stem. And notice it starts to get tight. Easiest thing to do, my personal preference, is I grab the tire, one hand over all the way under the rim and rotate back, and it tends to just pop into place. So there, we have the tire now fully on the rim, and what we're going to do is we're going to slowly inflate it. Just a little bit there at a time, and what you're looking for is a couple things, is making sure the tire is nicely seated. So you're going to follow a nice tire bead along the rim, and you want it to be nice and even. As you can see over here, it's not quite seated nicely, so we're making sure everything's even so nothing pops off. Couple more pumps, look around at it. If something's not seating properly and you're worried about over pumping it, you can work it by hand. You can grab it from the front, or like I was putting the tire on in reverse and just roll it back a little bit. So everything so far is looking pretty good. Tire is seating. So now we're just going to pump up the tire. And that is it. Your flat's changed. You're good to roll. Put the wheel back in the bike, put your valve cover on, and you're all set to ride.